What's up, friends, and welcome into Leading Off right here on Fantasy Pros. I'm Chris Welsh. That is the Joe Rico. And today's episode is brought to you by Bet365, where you can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets just by using the promo code Leading Off. Bet365, the title sponsor of Leading Off this entire year. Gambling problem, you can call 1-800-BETS-OFF or 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply. Ladies and gentlemen, they did it. That's my mouth trumpet. I'm very good at it, Joe Rico. The White Sox have won a game, almost beating a record. I'm always going for the records. I'm always going for the biggest losers to lose all the games. I wanted the Lions years ago to lose every single game. I wanted the White Sox to lose every single game through the end of the year because, Joe, I have an appreciation for history and greatness, and you have to appreciate the greatness that is the awfulness that the White Sox have been.
Might be the worst team in history. I know that's been talked about, like at least in the modern era, for sure, as long as you and I have been watching baseball. And the funny thing is, like, everybody was last year going on and on about how bad the Athletics are. The White Sox are way worse this year than the Athletics were last season. I think it's not even close.
It's not remotely. Well, I mean, did the Athletics lose 21 straight games at any point last year? So I think that's pretty good for it. Good for the White Sox, by the way. Jonathan Cannon, the pitcher, he'll live in infamy, of course. 6 innings, 1-run ball as they beat the A's 5-1. I will say it's kind of apropos that they beat the A of all the teams, that it was the A's that they did it. Only other thing would have been maybe like the Braves, with just how ridiculously bad the Braves offense has been in general. But the White Sox have been a huge, big embarrassment, but congratulations to them. They can throw like a little mini parade with, like, you know, those 8-volt little cars, and people can just wave. Luis Robert can, you know, drop balls and stuff like that. But the White Sox just absolutely horrendous. Even the fantasy options have just been kind of bleh from that team. Everything around the White Sox has been bleh, but they did avoid the, what was it? Was it 23? Was it going to be 23 was going to be the historical, awful tied mark of most lost games?
I think it was either 22 or 23, I think. Yeah, one or the other. And I heard something crazy too. Sheets, what's his name? Not Ben Sheets.
I loved Ben Sheets.
No, the Sheets for the White Sox. His dad played for the
Gavin Sheets.
Gavin Sheets. Thank you, Ben Sheets. What year am I in? Sheets' father played for the Angels team in the 80s that also had the previous record of like 21 losses. So they got some stuff to bond about on Father's Day and Thanksgiving now. Talk about their respective 21-game losing streaks.
Yeah, that's actually fun. Like Prince Fielder and Cecil, they obviously don't probably meet ever, but when they do, they can talk about ending with the same career homers. Yeah. And then the Sheets family can be like, no, you're the biggest loser. No, you're the biggest loser. So that's like a super fun one. By the way, what's up to the Peanuts and Cracker Jacks that are all hanging with us in here? I think I saw our boy Jack Boyce is on a plane to Disney World. Are you there's no way you're watching from the plane. Wi-Fi can't be that good, but if you are, shout out to it. Probably answer some questions. Pistol right there. What's up, Pistol? If you guys got any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. We may get to them today on our new schedule. Hopefully you guys are all accustomed to. I know Monday, Wednesday, Friday, a little bit altered and a little bit disjointed. I gotta be honest with you. Me on my own Tuesday was like, where is everybody? Where are all my people? So the little adjusted schedule here, but we'll have fun with it. So if you guys have got questions, we'll kind of answer them throughout. Another piece of actually laughable historical stuff is awesome here. Framber Valdez was 1 out away from a no-hitter. Let's say a home run. The home run did end it. What was so magical about it was, God dang it, now I'm forgetting who it was. But there was like an article that got put out right before it ended talking about how, and maybe it came out right as it happened. It was like Framber no hits the Rangers and comes back, blah, blah, blah. And then as that happens, Corey Seager launches a 2-run homer to snap that no-hitter. After a double play, 8 2/3 of an inning for Framber. Corey Seager, they didn't win the game. It would have actually been way more magical had the Rangers taken that game away from Framber, but Corey Seager breaks it. Joe, let's talk about Framber Valdez, who has definitely been towing on the line of more consistency than he was earlier in the year.
Yeah, I think we might have poo-pooed him on last week's show when I was on. Well, I think we were comparing him to Logan Webb or something. He's getting there. He's still not somebody that I really trust so much. Like it has definitely gotten better, and it's like the exact same ERA as last season. I think it's just really the strikeout drop, which hasn't been so drastic, but he's gone from like 25% to 22%. Just takes away some of that per inning viability a little bit. Like there's no real concern. You're still starting him against pretty much everybody, but I don't view him in the same tier as I did coming into the season. I think he's a bit of a notch down, kind of in the same way as like Zach Gallen to some extent, but I think that's more like an innings concern. But I viewed them a little bit in the higher tier coming into the year than I did at this point. And they're both kind of in the same tier, but that's kind of where I'm at.
Framber in that game, by the way, 107 pitches, was primary curveball, changeup. Stuff was down. Sinker was up a little bit. It was over a mile per hour. So, I mean, again, assume that's the fastball. So his fastball was up. The secondaries were going a little bit slower. Ton of whiffs on the curveball. Rangers were just eating up his curveball. 8 of 18 swings were whiffed through. Changeup as well. So 12 of his 16 whiffs came from his secondary off-speed stuff. But also, this game was a lot about limiting soft contact. The curveball had an average EV of 85 against, and the changeup 76. So that's the amount of hard contact that was against both of those pitches. And the two high average EVs were the slider and the sinker, and he was limiting those. He threw those a combined, looks like 35 of his 107 pitches were either a slider or a sinker. So it was a ton of secondary stuff in this, which ended up working out for him all the way until it didn't. Still worked out, still, picked up the win and everything like that. But Corey Seager absolutely demolished that and got him out of that one. Also, by the way, very weird day with all the weather, because we've got just a whole bunch of just rained out game. We've got double headers today. We've got Yankees and Angels. We've got the Diamondbacks that are going to be kicking off right as this game is going to end. So I know that's thrown in. Someone was complaining in the chat about the Luis Heel to start getting kind of screwed this week, which it's this time of year. If it's not weather, it's pushbacks of usage and stuff like that, Joe, and we don't get a lot of these guys. I'm actually very excited about the Luis Heel start here. It's one of my most highly focused ones of all these guys, the Paul Skeens, the Luis Heels, and how they're going to perform. This one's kind of got me, it's got me a little bit excited today if I had a primary focus.
Luis Heel against the Angels, right? Yankees,
Yes.
Angels. And he's the first game or the second game?
He is the first. I want to say he's the first game, and the Will Warren start is the second game. I mean, if these even play, by the way, they just keep getting rained out.
There's still a concern today. I haven't checked the forecast today, but there's a chance those get washed out again.
I thought there was a concern like literally all week for any of these Angels games if they weren't going to even play at all. So I don't know. There's some concerns out there, but I love me some Luis Heel.
I wonder when there's going to be like universal retractable roofs across sports. Football, we saw the Hall of Fame game. Baseball, I wonder if it's where like 10 years out, 15, 20, because I feel like eventually every stadium is going to have a dome or a retractable roof, no?
Yeah, maybe, but I feel like that's the same conversation of like, when are we going to have artificial turf of some version in every single stadium? And they still don't. Like, there's still something special that each of these stadiums, or a lot of them, are going to want, that just have that big open field, even though it's it's great. Like, we have one here in Arizona. When they open it up, it's nice, but it's not the same feeling probably as going to like Chicago. But I don't think Chicago's ever going to change it. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, we should probably hone in on that. The amount of games that get lost due to it is pretty obnoxious, and the double headers and stuff like that. But it is what it is. The Dodgers, Clayton Kershaw allowed 1 run over 4 2/3, had 5 strikeouts against the Phillies. What's your level of comfort with Kershaw moving forward? He's not going deep into games, but I feel like we're seeing some shades of old.
Yeah, I think he's all right. Like, I don't think he's necessarily like he's never going to be prime Kershaw again, but he's never, ever been bad. Like, I think the worst ERA he's ever put up over a season is like 3.5, 3.6. Even if he's at a reduced capacity, which at this point, following shoulder surgery at his age, he probably is. But I think we're still going to see consistent, really good performances, even if it's just over 5 innings. Good chance he's going to be able to get a win, even just over 5 innings in Los Angeles. They got Freeman back. I think Mookie's going to be back fairly soon. So I think that he's somebody that should be rostered everywhere. I don't even think in shallow leagues I'd want to leave Kershaw out there. I love him. I've always been biased towards Kershaw, but he's just always been so good. I think he deserves the benefit of the doubt, even after the last start wasn't so great. He hasn't gone so deep into games, but I'm still very confident in him going forward.
All the stuff was up in this last start, which is that's a like big positive. Not that there were anything crazy that was up. Slider was massively effective. That was his big whiff pitch in this one. Did not get a single swing through on a fastball, but he was throwing it. He was commanding it, had an over 50% zone rate, which is really, really nice. Just no one was swinging outside of the zone, but that's where the curveball and the slider were both getting people. So again, that is like vintage Kershaw. He just doesn't really throw anything hard. He was averaging 90 on the fastball. The secondaries get really low, but him being healthy is really just the key at this point. Like he's solid. By the way, I am laughing at we have like weather reports in the chat right now. Angelo said Angels Yankees game 1, scattered showers around. Most of the activity looks pretty light. And this is from Kevin Roth, but they're not going to rule out a delay already in game 1. The weather stuff, man. It's so weird. We were supposed to have last night, actually went out to the complex over to the Mariners and got to see Durangelo and talk to him for a second. The Mariners first round pick. He's the ambidextrous pitcher who throws with both hands. Also Ryan Sloan and a couple of the Guardians guys. But we were like worried because it was supposed to be the storm of the century here. 80 mile an hour, 60, 80 mile an hour winds out here, tornado, thunderstorm warnings in Arizona. Nothing. There was nothing. Not a single thing happened. But that's also a very Arizona centric thing. I don't know how you guys deal with. Jerry says there's no power there. I don't know how you guys deal with all of the insanity like this. And you're in Canada, dude. It's got to be bad for you too.
The weather's kind of crazy here. Like there was actually a few weeks ago, like, behind the scenes, I was going like to produce a couple shows here and I couldn't do them because we just lost power for like the entire day. Weather can be a little bit tricky, but we don't have to worry about like tornadoes and hurricanes and stuff like that. So it's a trade-off, but it's not too bad. They're a little extreme, the seasons here. Like it'll be boiling hot one day and then freezing the next with no warning. But I've kind of got used to it over the years.
It was 113 yesterday, too, by the way, and all those storms here. 113. The weather outside is weather. On the Cubs, we got a couple pieces. Shota Imanaga allowed 2 runs over 7 innings, striking out 10, picking up the win. Some strong outings from Imanaga. I definitely was kind of calling for a big retraction of production in the second half, or theoretical production. There's actually a really good thread out yesterday. One of my biggest worries with Imanaga has been him being a 2-pitch pitcher. I focused so much of the first half on it, by the way. I did a podcast with Eno Saris where we were kind of breaking down. And like 2-pitch pitchers are kind of scary. I think 2-pitch pitchers with a splitter are kind of scary because you're really just kind of you're an up and down pitcher outside of whatever type of theoretical movement you might get on the corners of a splitter. Imanaga, as of recent, and there's a really good thread about it, is talking about him starting to implement a changeup and maybe a different couple versions of a changeup. I think they were calling like one was like a Vulcan grip changeup, and I don't know if the other, I'm forgetting now if the other one was like the circle change or something like that. But I want to actually look at his pitch mix here before I speak too soon about it. At least he is starting to do it. But yeah, I mean, they're showing like he's got the sinker in there, which is getting a little bit more movement on the corners, starting to throw a sweeper a little bit. And they're really not registering the changeup, but I think it might be misregistered. Splitter sometimes can do that. But still, at the end of the day, it's like, of his 92 pitches, 84 of them were either fastball or splitter. So unless you're getting a little bit of a misclarification from Savant, which is very normal, it's still showing the same thing. But the idea is that Imanaga is starting to tinker with a few other things to get some different looks. And he's got 17 strikeouts over his last 13 2/3 of an inning. And he has been pretty decent. Imanaga top 15 SP rest of season, yay or nay?
I actually just updated my rankings not too long ago. I think he was outside of the top 15. No, I want to say I had him like 20 something. I think it's just like the relative lack of strikeouts compared to the other top tier starting pitchers might keep him outside. I had him at 26 actually over the All-Star break, which maybe was selling him a little bit short. I think it might just be the strikeouts, the worry about some of that regression. And we've seen a little bit, like he hasn't been as pure as he was earlier on in the season. I might have sold him a little short there, though. I think he's probably around 20th for me.
Okay. And I feel like, I mean, the ERA is kind of inflated back up. When I was talking about it. It was like the sub 2 ERAs. And I think he's just leveling out. It's exactly what I thought was going to happen. He was just going to kind of be like a level out guy. And that's what's happening. 3 ERAs, strikeouts are good. Doesn't walk a lot. Barrels are getting up a little bit more. And he's starting to add some horizontal movement to his arsenal, which I think is like really, really important. Also on the Cubs, Isaac Paredes, 2 for 3 with a homer, 4 RBI. His first homer as a Cub, but Mr. Joe Rico, Paredes, 3 for 27 he had entered in as a Cub. And we had 100% kind of put the clamps on that trade as being probably the worst, probably the one we didn't like the most. At least I didn't like the most, because from a ballpark perspective, that was the biggest difference as far as that pull side left field. And we have seen the Paredes struggles early on. Are you in? Are you out? I mean, like I said, yesterday, great, awesome, you got your homer, but he had really been struggling. Thoughts on Paredes moving forward the rest of the year?
He's not somebody I would want to drop or anything. Like, he's still somebody that you should be rostering, but it's a definite downgrade. It's like I think it was 40 feet farther out in left field, and that's really all that he does is hit balls in the air to left field. If it's a little bit harder there, he's not giving you a lot of batting average. That lineup isn't great enough that you can really count on a lot of runs and RBIs. There's no speed. Like, it's a serious downgrade for him. If you're in like a 10-team league where it's really shallow, like ESPN rosters, I think he's pretty borderline. Like most leagues where you got like those corner middle infield spots, if you're playing like NFBC leagues, like you're still holding him. But really shallow leagues, like this is a serious downgrade, and it really hurts the only thing that he really excels in, which is hitting for power. Unless he starts hitting the ball the other way, which is not going to happen, I don't really expect much out of Paredes. I think it was a bad trade. I really just think it was a bad trade.
Yeah, Sabo was saying the wind must have been blowing down that left field line. I actually think in that game, I think the winds were blowing in. I think they're actually blowing in to the first base side. I just happened to look because, of course, I was like, oh, good. Actually, this was Monday. Monday, it was blowing in. So you know what? I don't remember. I remember Monday because I had taken the over, and someone was like, watch out for the weather. It's like 10 miles an hour in. I had taken a look at. So I don't know. I do have a one for you, a versus Isaac Paredes, and let's use your smaller league as like a good barometer here. Isaac Paredes or Tyler Fitzgerald? Who would you rather have rest of the season?
I think Paredes still. I don't buy these runs from players like this. Now, there are things that I'd like about Fitzgerald. Like, he has a lot of speed. The power seems to be fairly legit, but still striking out a lot. And like when you see these, excuse me, when you see these guys like Kevin Pillar went on a crazy heater earlier in the year, Lawrence Butler, it doesn't really sustain all that often. Like, Fitzgerald's hitting like 5 home runs a week. I find it pretty hard to think in that ballpark around that lineup that he's really going to be a shallow league guy. I think that would be Paredes for me there.
I think I'm going to go Tyler Fitzgerald. Like, I don't know if there's enough time for a big alteration. Like, Paredes' game has been very simple. It has been pull the ball in the air. That's what he does. Everything he does is pull the ball in the air. It's not that that's gone, but it's harder. It's tapered down. And Tyler Fitzgerald, I do worry about the strikeouts, but he's making like really solid contact. Like, his barrel rate has been really good, you know, putting good hard hits. He's leading off for the team as well. I know it might sound crazy. In smaller leagues, I would go because I do think there's a potential that a guy like Tyler Fitzgerald could be out there over Paredes. By the way, you know, the most ridiculous thing, but shout out to my mom. My mom came in here and came in to say hi. So everybody in the chat is saying hi to Mama Welsh. Hi, Mom. Hello. Thank you in the hosting here. Let's talk about this last one in the big headlines here. Jeffrey Springs allowed 4 earned runs over 6 innings, allowed 4 earned runs on 6 hits over 5 innings Tuesday in a loss to the Cardinals. Springs now has allowed 6 earned runs over 8 2/3 while striking out 6. And this game, he started off good and then he tapered back. We saw it on the previous start where he got off to a bad start and hunkered down. Do you think like Jeffrey Springs is someone you're going to trust the rest of the season if he's been available? I feel like he's kind of being very fringy right now.
I bid on him like everywhere over the last couple of weeks. I know, like, I'm talking to the Jeffrey Springs fan club over here. If you're out on him, then that should probably make me reevaluate things. But I want to give him a little bit more time after such a long layoff. To give up on him after 8 innings, I think would be a little extreme. I want to give him a couple starts. That being said, we don't have a lot of time for him to really right the ship here. But I think if you're dropping him already, it's a little bit premature for me. I want to give him another couple starts. If it's still looking horrendous after 2 or 3 more, then I'll cut bait on him. But I think it's too soon to throw in the towel.
I think it's too soon to throw in the towel, but I believe he's got Baltimore in his next start, so I'm not starting him there at all. He's been getting hit, and he's been getting hit hard. Like, so that changeup that he loves to throw, it's got a 500 batting average against right now. The four-seamer, you're looking at like a 270 batting average. So how I would approach it, everything has stunk, and he's been giving up a lot of like bad contact. You got to see if that's going to alter out. Right now is a 51% hard hit rate against, because it's not overpowering stuff and it's not missing. Do not start him against Baltimore. See how that goes. Play out the next start. He might just not be a guy that we can fully trust, especially in the back end of this year, until he gets healthy for next season. That might be how we have to approach it. Joe Rico, Jackson Holiday in the rookie lookie has been pretty good. Pretty good since he's returned. Thank you very much. Yesterday, 1 for 2 with a solo homer against your Blue Jays. Also, super cool. He just got pulled in a super important situation, which was a really had Orioles fan. Ryan Wormley was losing his mind about it. But since returning, Jackson Holiday, 8 for 20, 3 homers, 8 RBI. He has been great. And you've seen the complete change. And you're actually seeing Kobe Mayo be Jackson Holiday from earlier in the year. Is Jackson Holiday an absolute must start every way through? And, same thing. Like, let's go back to Isak Paredes. Jackson Holiday or Isak Paredes rest of season?
I'd easily go Holiday there. Easily Holiday for me. What about you?
Yeah, 100% Jackson Holiday.
Holiday's just like, he's going to be so good. It's like that 10 game sample size earlier in the year really sullied the way that everybody viewed him. But I think I said it last week or 2 weeks ago when I was on. Guys need to go through some struggles when they first come up, or within the first month or so of coming up, to really just realize what they're up against. He went back down. He worked on some things. And now he looks like that number 1 prospect again. So I think wheels are up. Holiday is going to be fantastic. If he's still out there in shallow leagues, I'd pick him up and start him every single day, every single week, assuming that Brandon Hyde puts him in the lineup, because you never know with that guy what's going to happen. And we'll talk Kobe Mayo, I'm sure, as well. But it's some kind of strange decision-making in Baltimore, to say the least.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think like he's pretty solidified. I don't know if there's a lot of worries with that. Mateo got hurt. Westberg is out. Mayo has really struggled. DVS here was asking about leash on prospects like Mayo. Says, how long before thinking of benching or dropping him? I had Noelvi Marte, dropped him, and now he is hitting a little bit. With the guy like in redraft, you move on. Unfortunately, and this has been the trend all year, the guys that we really care about have had struggles outside of James Wood. I think James Wood has been like relatively even, but Holiday had massive struggles, and Mayo he's got a real swing and miss problem right now. With what's left into the season, I'm really not sure that you need to hold on to Kobe Mayo, because he's going to hit lower in the lineup and Jackson Holiday's moving up. So I'd prioritize Holiday over Mayo. I'd have a quick trigger finger on a guy like Kobe Mayo. And perfect example, exactly right, Sabo just mentioned, Orioles just signed JD Davis. So, I mean, I think that proves their level of it. So on any of these rookies, I'd have a quick trigger finger at this time of the year to not sit around. But I also think Jackson Holiday is solidified. I really do.
I think he is. Brandon Hyde plays so many games. It wouldn't shock me if they start to I don't know. I don't really expect it, but if he started sitting against left-handed pitching here and there, would that really surprise you that much?
No, nothing would surprise me with it. They've been playing Ramon Urias the entire year, and Jorge Mateo was locked in. So no, not a single bit would surprise me. Angelo, this is a constant. Angelo said, was Welsh doing the Reds game last night? The announcer said something about Chris Welsh speaking in other languages. It's pretty well known. The real Chris Welsh, former pitcher for the Reds, is the announcer on there. I believe he's famous, not great, by the way. I believe he's famous for criticizing the chains of Ronald Acuna, and then kind of slamming Ozzy Albies for taking the money. There was some like really bad situation. Not the best, but I have legit been on television shows and they have thought I was him. Dude's like 65. I actually have a pretty young face. I don't buy that whatsoever. And I've also had an article written, and they said, oh, the In This League podcast hosted by Scott Bogman and former Major League pitcher Chris Welsh. Also incorrect. Absolutely also Incorrect. So yes, you will hear that. Going to the audience, Michael Impo said, do we think Johan Duran has lost his closer role to Griffin Jax? What do you think, Joe?
I think Jack's got the most recent save opportunity, but Duran's been, outside of the kind of lack of strikeouts this year, he's still been fairly good. I don't think that, unless we actually hear the team say that, I wouldn't drop Duran and assume that Jax is the guy. As good as Jax has been, like Duran coming into the season, there were a lot of people who thought Duran was like the best relief pitcher in all of baseball. And he hasn't done enough to really, he doesn't have that title, but Duran still, like, just pulling up his numbers, he's got a 3.47 ERA, 1.02 whip. He's still been very, very good. I don't know. What do you think, Welch? Do you think there's a chance that Jax takes over the job here? I doubt it.
So I think this is similar to here. There's the very first question out of the day. Let me see if I can scroll to it before. Like, this is one of those, we weren't even here yet, and Shane came in. By the way, shout out Shane. That's my middle name. Shane, what do we think? Justin Martinez getting a shot in the closer role in Arizona. It's a great question. I think there's nobody that can have the lockdown. Now I will say this: Torey Lovullo, and I know this is a Twins thing, but with the Diamondbacks for a second, Torey Lovullo did attempt to give it to Ryan Thompson. 3 opportunities. Believe he kind of screwed up 2 of them. AJ Puck came in to save 1. Justin Martinez came in and looked phenomenal and got the other one. I think the Diamondback situation has the potential to be, hey, we've got multiple guys that can do this. It can be leverage situations. I've already said, I think AJ Puck is going to be the fireman, the biggest critical situations. Justin Martinez might get more opportunities because when his stuff is on, he is unhittable. That fastball splitter combination is unhittable. It doesn't have the movement like Emmanuel Clase, but it reminds me like that. So I say those things to say that I don't think one of those guys is locked in to all the save opportunities. I do believe you will see Paul Sewald get a save opportunity. I do think Justin Martinez might have moved ahead of Ryan Thompson, and they've already not gone to Ginkel, so I think Ginkel's out. So I think that's Puck, Martinez, and Sewald you're going to see. Bring it all the way back to the actual question. I don't think Jax takes all of them, but I do think this is now open up to a spot where they're going to kind of battle it out. And both of these guys might be getting saved. So I'm not looking to get rid of Duran because I don't think he's lost it completely. But I think Jax has the comfort from the team that they will give him opportunities. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's totally fair. Jax has been amazing. Like, Jax has been fantastic this season. I think even in standard 5x5 leagues, he's like a top 100 player without having a ton of saves. He's been fantastic. I just think Duran is still probably going to get, like, if it was going to be a split, I think Duran would still take the majority of them. But Jax is an interesting guy to speculate on because every year we have these guys that are non-closing relievers that still have a lot of value. And even if they're not bringing in consistent saves, you get the odd win, the odd save, tons of strikeouts with Jax. Even though I don't think he'll like take over that role, he could still actually have some value if you're in a slightly deeper, like 12-teamer and beyond. Like that could still be a nice pickup for you.
Closers are the running backs of fantasy football. Every team wants to have 2 or 3 of them. There's very few, it feels like very few workhorses out there anymore that teams aren't willing to bounce around. That's just how I've kind of approached it. At least one more. Lee said, what do we think about Drew Rasmussen being activated? Is Drew Rasmussen going to be on the level of Jeffrey Springs' trust, more or less?
As of right now, I'd say he's a little bit less, even with the struggles that Springs has had. I think Springs is just a better pitcher. That doesn't take anything away from Rasmussen, who's actually really good in his own right. But I would have to lean Springs, all things being equal right now. And I mean, if Rasmussen comes out and looks fantastic in his first couple starts, that'll probably change things. But I'd have to take Springs.
I think I agree with you on that. Like, in deeper leagues, Rasmussen is interesting to speculate on. I'm not sure I'm like looking to crazy speculate in the world of the Rays. Like, I imagine he's going to be slowly kind of integrated into the entire rotation coming off of these injuries. These are going to be great guys next year. I'm going to be back into Rasmussen. I will be back into Jeffrey Springs, even however bad it is this year. The adjustment period is just a little bit bigger. Hey, 3 up and 3 down. Willie Adams, as Joe would say. Yesterday, Joe Pisapia, 4 for 5, 2 homers, 4 RBIs. Colin Ray also went 7 innings, struck out 9. Didn't give up an earned run. And James Wood, 2 for 3, a homer, 2 RBI, and 2 stolen bases. Dare we say combo meal or socks and shoes, however you want to talk about that, everybody. It's a homer and a stolen base. He was awesome yesterday. Who was not awesome? Hayden Birdsong. Blah. 2 innings, 7 earned runs. Bryce Elder, 3 2/3, gave up 7 earned runs, walked 2, gave up 8 hits, and was gone. I think I saw the biggest cheer yesterday for the Braves was Bryce Elder being pulled because he stinks. And Lindor, Gunnar Henderson, Brian Reynolds, all yesterday 0 with 3 strikeouts. Bad. Injuries. I don't know if you saw this one yesterday, Joe. Grayson Rodriguez in pre-stretch warm-up stuff was throwing, looked over at his bullpen coach and said, I don't feel right. I don't feel good. He was scratched from that start against the Blue Jays with, what are they calling it? Lat teres discomfort. It's like some lat discomfort. Very likely could be an IL situation for Grayson Rodriguez, and why they went out and made all those very subpar trades, but they were trying to get pitching depth because of this right here.
I believe he had the same injury when he was a minor leaguer, 21 or 22. I saw somebody mention that this was the same thing that bothered him a couple of years ago. So don't love to see that. Not going to overreact here, but probably going to end up on the shelf. Yeah.
Maybe one of the saddest ones was Brusdar Graterol. Had been out all season. I don't remember him pitching a lot last year either. I saw him at the complex during Arizona Complex Ball. He was working out. Him, Tony Gonsolin, River Ryan, those were kind of Dustin May. Those are the guys that were always there. Brusdar was just kind of sitting around. And then all of a sudden, boom, he's back. He gets out there, 8 pitches, and he's gone with a significant hamstring strain, they said. By the way, it wasn't a leg injury. I think it was an arm issue he had been dealing with while he was out all year. Goes in and suffers a significant hamstring strain. Had to be like carried out. Dude is crying. All of that work to get back. You know, you don't blame him or anything like that. But Brusdar, there's a real potential. Brusdar could have been thrust right back into a closer role, and that is gone. There's no application to talk about except maybe, you know, Evan Phillips will get more opportunities again. Daniel Hudson might get some of those. It won't be from Brusdar, Joe.
Yeah, just like the human side of it, you feel so bad for these guys. Kodai Senga's another one. You know, you spend the whole year rehabbing, you come back 1 game, and then you're toast. From the Dodgers' perspective, I wonder, do you think there's any chance Michael Kopech gets the 9th inning with any regularity?
Regularity? I don't know. Does he get a 9th inning? Yes, I absolutely do. They are clearly just throwing bullets out there. Who the hell was it the other day? It wasn't Brazier, and it wasn't. I mean, they're just, God, who was the guy? I'm completely forgetting. One of those like black middle in the one that gave up, that blew the save in like the 10th with the Padres. Doesn't matter. They're all Anthony Bandas to Kopechs to Evan Phillips to Daniel Hudson's. It's all the same. They're all the same guys. None of them are good. It'll probably go to Kopech. Kodai Senga. Just pointing that out. Justin Turner, day-to-day after leaving Thursday's game after getting hit on the hand by a pitch. Mariners don't want that. Ranger Suarez is scheduled to throw a bullpen session tomorrow, hopefully getting into whatever type of rehab assignment they would need. And Christian Scott is yet to be cleared in throwing if anybody was holding out hopes for them. Friendos, yes, you can get involved in the game today by going over to our friends over at Bet365 for the best bets
of the day.
Look at that. You did it. Best bets of the day brought to you by Bet365. You can get in the game, make some of your favorite bets from money line to run line to props. Yes, we've always got props. And Mr. Joe Rico has got some props for you today. I believe you got one of the guys you hit and nailed last week. You are getting right back on it. So what are some of your favorite bets for today?
Going back to the Taj Bradley well, again, if anybody follows me or listens to my stuff, like, you know how much I love Taj Bradley. He's one of my favorite pitchers in baseball, and he is constantly disrespected on these strikeout totals. It was 4.5 with like minus 185 or something when I checked this morning. He's got like a 30% strikeout rate. It's like one of the 5 or 7 best strikeout rates in all of baseball. It should not be set anywhere under 5. So I took the alt line at 6+ strikeouts plus 115 for Bradley. Very, very attainable there. I even thought about going a little crazy with a bit of a ladder or something, but we'll keep it at 6. We'll keep it at 6. You're getting plus money there, but if he ends up with 7 or 8, I would not at all be surprised. Ryan O'Hearn facing against Bowden Francis today in Toronto. He just destroys right-handed pitching. It's like a 132 WRC plus. All of his home runs have come against right-handers. He mostly plays against right-handers, but O'Hearn has really been an excellent platoon bat for the Orioles this season. Over 1.5 total bases at plus 120. Really like that one as well. And run call, but you could get a little cheeky. And then the last one is a little more chalky. It's Freddie Peralta, over 5.5 strikeouts. He's facing the Braves, who might surprise some people. Maybe it won't the way the year's gone, but they have the 5th worst strikeout rate amongst all teams in baseball, nearly 25%. Peralta's pretty routinely going over this. Now it is juiced to minus 160, but you got the other plus money bets in there. So this one's a little bit safer. So Taj Bradley, 6+ strikeouts, Ryan O'Hearn, over 1.5 total bases, and Freddie Peralta, over 5.5 strikeouts. All of them at Bet365.
You know what I might do? I might even play around. I think I might do this when we're done. Sometimes I like to, it's dangerous, pairing anything, you're lessening your odds, of course, but you're boosting your potential return, is take Taj Bradley 5Ks and Freddie Peralta 5Ks, pair those, they're paired down a little bit, but combo them together. And I bet you'll get somewhere between plus to plus 130, somewhere in that range. And I think I might just play that myself. Someone also asked, this is a good one. Justin said, anyone think that Fott's strikeout line is a little low today? And I think he's going right now, so it doesn't matter at this point. Guardians, you're right. It is. It's like 3.5. There's a couple of those 3.5s today that really stand out to you. Another one, I will tell you, it's one of the Betting Pros prop cheat sheet favorite plays is Cutter Crawford strikeouts, which I believe is at 3.5. And he has hit that 14 of 15 games, but it's juiced. And the matchup is tough, but 14 of 15 games. You guys can check out all the others, whether it is total bases, strikeouts, and it has all the props put together. You can check that over at Betting Pros on the app. You can check the cheat sheet, or you can just go to bettingpros.com and check out all their favorite plays. You can check out by percentages on returns. You can sort them by ratings. There's a lot of cool ways you can do it, but that was one that was on there for Brandon Pfaadt. I'm tempted, but Pfaadt's also had some 0 strikeout days. I am not into the prop market today. I did not solo pick out, though there is 1 or 2 that I kind of dig. I'm on some lines, and we're starting with Minnesota. I'm going to play the first 5 money line. There's a couple of these that have a little bit of juice attached to them, but I really want to lock these in. Also, Minnesota run line, 1.5 might not be a bad play, but this is Joe Ryan versus Javier Assad. I'm just playing straight money line through the first 5 Minnesota. I'm also going to play a Nerfy. There's a couple interesting ones today. The most interesting is not playable in George Kirby and Tariq Skubal. It's ridiculously juiced. But a sneaky one is going to Joe's favorite guy, Tampa and St. Louis. Give me Taj Bradley and Eric Fetty. Eric Fetty is actually on the lower end of first runs given up so far this year. And so give me Taj Bradley and Eric Fetty to kind of lock that down. And then finally, I'm going to go with the San Diego full game run line minus 1.5. Against Pittsburgh, against Marco Gonzalez. I think it is. But San Diego, full game run line, minus 1.5 San Diego. Those are my 3 bets. Minnesota first 5, Tampa Bay Nerfy, San Diego. We've also got Taj Bradley, alt Ks, Ryan O'Hearn over 1.5, and Freddie Peralta at 5.5 over strikeouts. Those are our best bets of the day. Just pretend that's Joe Orico there, not Joe Pisapia. All right, Mr. Joe Rico, I did not get a home run board today. I will have to shout out and get to our boy Ethan because I did get a homer yesterday because I had Royce Lewis for Monday and Tuesday. It's in perpetuity until the next show. So I did get back on. I believe, I don't know if Fred Dinger is in here. I believe I'm at 24. So I'm not quite at being able to get on the board here soon, but if I can pick this up, maybe, baby. Joe Rico, where are you going with your home run call today?
I'm going Bobby Witt. I've been going with the more niche names when I've been on the show recently, Nolan Gormans and the Jorge Solares, but we're going chalk today with Bobby Witt. He's facing Cutter Crawford, and Cutter Crawford over his last 3 games, 12 home runs allowed, 23.6 barrel percentage, and a 35% homer to fly ball. He's getting crushed recently. Bobby Witt has been just brilliant this season, and I think there's a good chance he takes one out of the yard tonight.
I almost picked Bobby Witt. That's very good. Fred Dinger, always in here, rocking. 25 I'm at. As of yesterday, I actually got a board yesterday. Poor Ethan sent me one yesterday when we didn't have a show, and then we didn't get one today. 30 was the marker to get on the board. So I'm still 5 away. That could have changed from yesterday. Today, I'm actually going to go with an Oriole. And you guys think you know which Oriole I'm going to go with. No, I'm going to alter away. Give me Anthony Santander. I picked him last week, I think it was, and he hit for me. He is wild against righties right now. 24 homers against righties, and I believe it's 8 against lefties. I think that's his number if I have that correctly when I was looking at his splits. Going against Bowden Francis. Give me Anthony Santander to get back on that home run board, not Gunnar Henderson, and hopefully get me rolling a little bit more. Joe Rico on Twitter at JoeRico99. We're going to get you twice next week, buddy. We're going to get a whole lot more of Joe Rico. Maybe we'll be talking about some streamers into next week and do some more formal pickups. What do you got going in your world this week?
Nothing crazy, just the usual daily podcast that you guys can check out on my Twitter feed, writing a lot of stuff. Everything goes out on Twitter. I post way too much stuff, but you can keep track of all of it over there.
Right on. You guys can find me at Is It The Welsh. Make sure you guys are subscribed on the YouTube if you're listening on the podcast, youtube.com/FantasyPros MLB. If you're on the YouTube, do the inverse. Go to your podcast and make sure you're subscribed there. Friendos, that's going to do it. That's going to be the episode. We'll be back again on Friday. Casey Bubba back in the house. We'll also talk about some weekend streamers and some 2 starters for next week. So make sure you're here for that. And bring your questions. Thank you guys as always for hanging out. Shout out to my mom again. People were trying to get home run calls for my mom. I think someone said to pick Aaron Judge. So let's put it on the board. Aaron Judge for my mom today. Shout out to Mama Welsh and shout out to all of you guys. We love you and we'll talk to you again on Friday. Peace out.